the preseason right around the corner, I want to break down some lineup options the Boston Celtics could have as they're now trying to win the Larry O'Brien Trophy back to back. What's going on, Celtics fans? Welcome into Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Allie Barefoot, and obviously we know who the starting five is. But do we? Because there's a lot of changes that have happened this offseason while simultaneously not changing that many things. But nonetheless, we're going to break it down here on Celtics Today. So I need you guys to do one thing for me. If you want us to go live for the regular season, all you have got to do is hit that sub button for me. Of course, we went live for every single game last year. I would love to do that again, but I'm going to show my bosses that you guys want it. So all you have got to do, hit that sub button, and the goal is to get 25 new subscribers from this video. Let's see some familiar faces, shall we? This will be the Boston Celtics starting five on October 22nd going up against the New York Knicks. Of course, no Kristaps Porzingis for the first 2 months of the season, so we'll be relying on the 38-year-old Dominican father of five in Al Horford. Obviously paired with the backcourt duo of an all-defensive Jrue Holiday and Derrick White, and the Jays, who surprisingly, despite winning the NBA championship, have a chip on their shoulder. But there is a lot of room for a few players to still step up and make a name for themselves. And I'm really looking at the main rotation players here. It's going to look a lot like Xavier Tillman, Luke Cornett, especially without Horford not really being able to play back-to-back games because he is 38 years old. And then Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser. Pritchard got an extension last year. Sam Hauser got an extension this offseason. So I'm going to be looking at them coming in primarily in the first rotation as they did last year. But I would expect a really big role from two players, Tillman and Hauser. But let's talk about Tillman because I am expecting a lot of minutes, especially with Kristaps Porzingis out. And I could actually see him being an X factor because I think we forget a little bit because, we call him the mini Horford. But he's only 25 years old. He still has a lot to prove left in the NBA. And I just want to give you guys a friendly reminder because it's been a while since we've seen Boston Celtics basketball. He did sign with the Celtics by the NBA trade deadline, so he was only with Boston from February to June. He averaged 13.7 minutes per game in that season, but he also played a little bit of garbage time when it came to the NBA playoffs because let's face it, the Boston Celtics were too damn good. They kept beating everybody, blowing them out, so they're like, you know what? Let's give Xavier Tillman some minutes. Let's see what he can do. And quite frankly, he showed me that he can be a defensive menace, which is definitely going to be needed in the paint this upcoming season. And I loved what Mazzulla said here about Tillman and how he can really make a big splash in the Boston Celtics roster this year. And I love that Joe Mazzulla was breaking down, look, Xavier Tillman's going to have a different role than he had from when he joined the Boston Celtics team in February. Because obviously, he just kind of came in the middle of the year. It's like when you transfer schools and you're like, hey, I've got to make new friends. I've got to really earn my respect around here. Well, Joe Mazzulla said that he's going to be an integral part of the Boston Celtics and what we do. And that's making me believe that Tillman is going to get way more than 13.7 minutes per game this upcoming season. And there's nobody else he would probably go in for other than the great Al Horford because Porzingis will not play until December. January, the latest, November, the earliest. I liked what Al Horford had to say about Xavier Tillman's type of play, saying on the court, Tillman's a guy that's able to defend pretty well. Can defend out in the perimeter. That has good instincts. Off the court, he's blended right in with our group. He's super easygoing. It's just nice to have him around. It's been like a perfect fit. Honestly, him being here, him being with us, he's about the right things. He's trying to play to win. When you have guys like that, it's very easy to come out here and play. And that's why I think we're going to see a lot more Xavier Tillman, and there's going to be room for him to improve, especially in the next couple of preseason games going up against the Denver Nuggets internationally. I do see Xavier Tillman getting a lot of minutes in those preseason games because we didn't have him last preseason. And remember, preseason Peyton Pritchard popped off, damn near earned himself an extension from what he did in the preseason. So I'm expecting Tillman to do the same thing and for the next couple of months, knowing that Kristaps Porzingis is going to be out. The only thing that kind of hesitates me from putting him in that center position is just the height. Knowing that Tatum is even bigger than him. Same with Jaylen Brown. Obviously, you want somebody like Luke Cornett who's got the height, got the frame like Porzingis, but I love the defense that Tillman can give me down low. So I have a question here for you guys. Knowing that he averaged 13.7 minutes per game last year, do you guys think he'll have over or under 15 minutes per game this season? Once again, no Porzingis. So we could see a bigger role coming from Xavier Tillman. But he's not the only player that we could possibly see a mix-up in these lineups because overall, how I said in the beginning of this video is that, yes, there's been a lot of change, but there also hasn't in the same breath. 13 out of the 15 players are coming back to play for the Celtics that just won their ring. But there are also some new faces in Lonnie Walker, Baylor Shireman, Anton Watson, but it's also a new year. Joe Mazzulla can use whatever he wants in any lineup variation that he could possibly figure out, and Boston has had several successful lineups. I have enjoyed what I noticed in the trend last year is that in that first rotation, Pritchard would come in, Hauser would come in, Brown would sit, and Derrick White would sit. But you'd still keep the two starters of Tatum. You'd still keep Horford in there, Jrue Holiday, Peyton Pritchard, and Sam Hauser. There are several different variations because the Boston Celtics depth chart is so stacked. But I saw this article from Bleacher Report that wants to see more of one specific lineup. And I actually thought it was a little bit spicy. So I wanted to break it down here, give you guys my reaction to what I was seeing from this Bleacher Report article and why they specifically liked this lineup out of everything the Celtics have cultivated. And you notice Jayson Tatum right there in dead center. You make Tatum the big man. You put Sam Hauser in where Jaylen Brown normally plays. You put Brown in where Tatum normally plays. Now you're really upping your scoring because you're putting Hauser in here. But you also have a 6'9" center in Jayson Tatum who has played center before. This looks like a lethal defensive-heavy lineup to me. And here's why Bleacher Report really liked Hauser at the 3, Tatum at the 5. This arrangement would stretch opposing defenses beyond function even more so than normal. And while size will be a concern, pretty much every player in this gaggle has experience soaking up spot duty on bigs to disrupt the flow of pick-and-roll offenses. And so I looked at what this lineup did last year because we've seen this. They actually played 4 games in 32 possessions. They average 11.3 points, 55%. Remember how I said it's going to be defensive heavy? It's also very offensive heavy. They shot 37.5% from downtown, 57% from the field. Obviously, putting Hauser in there really increases your three-point shooting. But when you have all 5 players that can drain it from anywhere on the court, it is going to spread out those defenses. And just like Bleacher Report said, we saw Sam Hauser being able to lock up top guards, top bigs in the NBA playoffs, proving that he can play in the post, he can play around the three-point line, or he can play wherever, including Jayson Tatum, who has played center before. We've seen this. When you have a forward that's 6'8", 6'9", and has the muscle mass to be able to hang down low with your Joel Embiids, with your Jokic's. I think that Jayson Tatum has been somewhat effective when it comes to being a center when he's had to. Obviously, there's different lineups, different resources around him, but his offensive rating was 134.3. Defensive rating, not bad at all, 112.1. And his effective field goal percentage when he was being the big and his primary reason for scoring was down low around the post, he shot 64%. Tatum is not a bad option at the 5, especially with Porzingis being out the first 2 months. I could see us really going through some pretty interesting lineup choices because you also have to realize starting off the season with the New York Knicks, then you go into some lesser opponents, you're going to be able to experiment with Tatum at the 5, with Sam Hauser in, maybe switch up the starting lineup just to throw off the defenses who have had a whole year of playing against this exact starting 5. So knowing the Celtics center depth is going to be a little bit thin, I could see Tatum, not always. Less than 5 games, less than 50 possessions, taking a breather from Tillman and Cornette and Horford and sticking Tatum down low. I'll give my final thoughts on this in just a moment, but I want to make sure you guys have your championship gear before the season starts. If you guys have not already, go on ahead, go to chatsports.com/CelticsChamps24. This bad boy is about $12 right now, 65% off. If you use the link that I have graciously given you of chatsports.com/CelticsChamps24. One more look here at Bleacher Report's ideal lineup and having Sam Hauser play the 3 and Jayson Tatum to play the 5. I mean, you're not really changing anything up when it comes to the guards. Jaylen Brown, who's putting on more muscle mass than anybody needs to have as a basketball player. And then you're putting Tatum into 5, Hauser at 3, increases your three-point shooting. So let me ask you this one question here real quick. Do you want to see this lineup more often in this season. Type Y for yes, type N for no. If you guys want to see Tatum playing a little bit more down low, maybe have Sam Hauser working a little bit more up top, let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section by typing Y for yes, typing N for no. And as always, if you want us to go live for this regular season, all you guys have got to do is one simple thing, and that's subscribe.